Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, The Future of Contract Manufacturing, Must-Know Trends and Strategies for 2025. I'm Heather Masaccio, your host from Pharmaceutical Online and Life Science Connect. In this webinar, we will explore the evolving landscape of contract manufacturing for regulated industries as 2025 unfolds. You'll gain valuable insights into the trends shaping the future of contract manufacturing and learn strategies to effectively adapt to this rapidly changing environment. Just a few bits of housekeeping before we get started. If you have a question for our speaker or you wish to share any thoughts of your own, please submit it through the Q&A box on your screen. If you run into any problems with the stream today, please try refreshing your browser first. If your problem persists, please use the Q&A tool to submit a question and I'll help you get back on track. The event will be available on demand, normally within about 24 hours. You'll just use the same link that you used today. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker. And there is her slide. I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin Minton-Smith. She's the Senior Product Marketing Manager for MasterControl and will be leading our presentation today. Over to you, Caitlin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. So hi, everybody. As Courtney said, my name is Caitlin Minton-Smith, and I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager at MasterControl. And MasterControl provides quality and manufacturing software to highly regulated companies like pharma and medical device. And I'm here to speak with you today about some of the trends and themes that we are seeing in the market for contract manufacturing. So let's dig in. So why does MasterControl have a perspective? Well, like I said, we do provide software to life sciences companies and highly regulated industries. And we're really fortunate to work with over 1,000 of these types of organizations, and over 200 of them are contract manufacturers. And they use our quality management systems and MES software solutions to digitize their processes and really serve their clients more efficiently. This partnership with all of these clients really allows us to have a unique perspective in this industry because we have the opportunity to get in front of them and hear from them. So we hear what they're concerned about, we hear what they're excited about, we hear about what's happening in their worlds and really what they're thinking of. And we're really always looking to see how trends in the market are going to impact their business. And just to note, this webinar is going to be primarily focused on forward and key trends and topics for the future, but I do think that there's always an opportunity to kind of take a pulse of where we are today. So with that in mind, I kind of want to acknowledge an overarching theme that we continue to see, which is personalization. We know that increasingly the market as a whole is demanding more personalized treatments, and that pharma and medical device and you as contract manufacturers are really having to adjust and make sure that you have the tools and the processes in place so that you can deliver on this. The delivery of these does have far-reaching implications into how contract manufacturers and manufacturers in general do business. It really kind of impacts the expectations of your sponsors, and it also impacts the requirements from regulatory bodies. One area where we've seen a lot of change over the past couple of years is in technology. So the technology that manufacturers are using is really supporting a shift from delivering solutions for the masses to delivering them to more one-to-one or one-to-few type of therapies. And this is really going to require contract manufacturers to rethink how they conduct their day-to-day business, whether that focus is on building out new capabilities to support new modalities like cell and gene manufacturing, or just thinking more holistically about how embracing new technology can kind of streamline and support customization and individualization in the market, because that's really where the market seems to be heading. The final area that I kind of wanted to talk about when we think about the current state of contract manufacturing in the context of personalization is really how regulatory bodies are responding. So we know that regulatory agencies globally are very focused on how to support more personalized therapies. They're coming through with different regulations. They are trying to harmonize. There's all these things happening that are really intended to support more personalized therapies. And they are updating their guidance to ensure that manufacturers and their sponsors are able to continue pushing the envelope while ensuring that global patient safety. Like I said, these are things that we've seen over the past couple of years, and I think it's just important to kind of think about the current state. And we really wanted to frame that and base that in this idea of personalization, because that is something that has been very, very important and very, very prevalent within life sciences and within contract manufacturing. So as we look into 2025, what do we see? Well, the themes are pretty similar as we've seen over the past several years. Realistically, these are things that we anticipate seeing and holding true for the foreseeable future. But what I wanted to dive into today are some of the specific areas and trends that we're seeing within these themes, and what we see kind of accelerating over 2025, and things that we want to make sure that contract manufacturers are thinking of and aware of and stuff like that. So our overarching themes for 2025 and really into the future is technology, therapeutics, and regulatory. So we are going to start with technology. We know from speaking with our clients who are contract manufacturers that they continue to rely on advancements in technology for everything from improving the development of products or even breaking into new areas of manufacturing, and that they're really focused on creating efficient processes that accelerate production. So really leveraging technology to improve efficiency. Advancements in technology really continue to drive the entire industry to modify how they approach manufacturing. And I wanted to take a minute to talk about a few key technology trends that we are looking at and focusing on in 2025. So you really can't talk about technology today without talking about artificial intelligence. I don't know about any of you, but I happen to love ChatGPT. I recently used it for a trip to Victoria, Canada, where I asked it to come up with an itinerary for me and my mom, and it was fantastic. And I frankly don't really know what I would do without ChatGPT today, especially when I go traveling. But I think what that shows is really there's just been this explosion both in professional and personal worlds of large language models, of use cases for AI, and really the acceleration of adoption of AI across industries and across modalities. I think the thing that kind of blows my mind is that OpenAI launched ChatGPT in 2022. And so we are really just scraping kind of the tip of the spear here. We are at the very beginning of how AI is going to continue to impact both our personal and professional lives. What we're seeing for manufacturers when they are evaluating implementation of AI technologies is that there are really endless opportunities to safely and effectively use AI. You can use it for R&D or clinical trials or compliance or production. Like the possibilities are really endless. However, two areas that I really wanted to talk about when we think about AI in the context of contract manufacturing, or just in general, I would say in the context of manufacturing that seem different than years past, is first and foremost, the clear commitment from executive leadership to invest in AI. So we've seen a lot of investment over the past couple years, but a lot of it has been in the context of proof of concept And we're seeing this change now where it's going out of the realm of POC and much more into the realm of something that's embedded into their manufacturing approaches and is really part and parcel of their operations. The second area where we're seeing AI kind of take a bit of a left turn that we haven't seen as much previously is it's kind of the fluency in terms of AI from the kind of staffing and turnover happening across manufacturing. So we know from studies that the average age of employees is continuing to drop, and that the tenure with which those employees stay at a certain organization has really gone from like decades to years. And so what we anticipate looking forward is a really strong adoption of generative AI in manufacturing to support more frequent turnover, to support training, to make sure everybody's trained, but also really to support younger generations who are entering the workforce and are really highly fluent in advanced technologies like AI, ML, et cetera. What this means for you as contract manufacturers is really, thinking about technology beyond just digital tools and thinking about technology as things that you can embed within your organization that really are going to help your organization to work more efficiently and more effectively. When we think about AI, I think we can all play buzzword bingo with AI. So it's important to me to think about what these numbers actually look like and what the actual impact of AI could be on your organization. And remember, we're really just scratching the surface here of AI adoption. So a recent study shows significant improvements to operations, citing a 50% reduction in machine downtime, decreases to quality-related costs, and a faster time to market, all because of kind of an embedded AI strategy. And when you combine this kind of time, resource, and cost savings with the growing mindset of AI embedded into our work and into our personal lives, you can see how this really has an opportunity to change how we work. Everybody, as we know, we have to keep an eye on the governance and compliance with usage of these tools in the advancement of manufacturing. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I think that the areas that you can use AI in your organization and inside of manufacturing are only going to pay dividends for the future. And I frankly cannot wait to see what we're talking about a year from now, because the speed with which things are evolving and new things are coming into the fore to be used to help with efficiency or help with compliance or safety from an AI standpoint is pretty exciting. The second area that I wanted to dive into in the context of technology, the theme of technology, is automation and digitization. And I must first acknowledge that neither of these are new trends or themes. There has been an ongoing movement to transition, your processes, your documentation, batch records, really everything off of paper for the last 20 years. And especially for contract manufacturers, it's really critical to work smarter and to invest in the right technology and resources that really improves your operations, streamlines your workflow, and just enables you to work smarter rather than harder within your organization. One area that I really wanted to hone in on when we think about automation and digitization is really the impact that this has on contract manufacturing, and that's really around operational efficiencies. So I'm going to talk about 3 areas where operational efficiency specific to contract manufacturers can really be impacted by having a digital transformation plan or taking advantage of automation. So the first is really that as contract manufacturers, you serve many clients. So what do digital solutions do for you? they really help you to streamline things like turnover or line clearance or batch record development. And these are all really critical moments when you're responsible for manufacturing several products on behalf of several sponsors. And what we found with our clients is that shaving off even seconds of steps that are done multiple times, potentially in a batch record, can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings. So when we talk about operational efficiency and talk about serving many clients, there's just a ton of opportunity to streamline how you work and what you do on your day-to-day within the steps of your manufacturing process to really impact the long-term outcomes for your organization. The second area of impact that I wanted to touch on in terms of operational efficiency is really data integrity. So studies show that data accuracy is about 91% when documentation is handled manually. This is another area where sponsors or where contract manufacturers really have to bring their A game. You are as responsible for product quality and integrity as your sponsors. And being able to improve the data integrity during production means that you are able to accelerate your quality review. You are able to get product out the door faster. You are able to mitigate a lot of the issues that come up when you have poor data integrity. The final area that I wanted to talk about in terms of operational efficiency that is gained when you kind of have a digital plan or digital tools in place is resourcing. So the right digital tools really enable contract manufacturers to streamline their resources. Again, we know from our clients, from conversations with our clients, that margins for contract manufacturing are very tight. So squeezing every bit of efficiency out of resources, whether those are operators or physical assets or your quality control, is really one way to ensure that you are successful and that you can kind of stay, quote unquote, out of the red. Moving beyond operational efficiency, when we think about automation and digitization, the other really impressive or key benefit here is the access to data. So we know that as contract manufacturers and manufacturers in general, you capture an enormous amount of data across the product life cycle, and these digital tools are really able to help you harness that data and make sense of that data and more easily share that data. And that helps to inform your decision making and helps you make the best decisions possible. This ability to surface that data and look at it and have it inform decisions kind of feeds into some of those operational efficiencies that we just talked about. But it also helps you to be more transparent with sponsors, which we know is really a critical component and something that sometimes can be a sticking point with sponsors is lack of visibility. So it's not only that automation and digitization can help you as an organization to improve your operations, but also can potentially help your relationships with your sponsors. At the end of the day, the investment in and implementation of kind of digital tools are table stakes at this point. I feel silly to say like, oh, this is a trend or a theme, but it is something that we continue to see in the market that we think is just becoming hypercritical and really needs to be addressed to benefit you as an organization, to benefit your sponsors, and to benefit the folks that they are supporting, their patients. Moving into the next theme that we are going to focus on for 2025 is how therapeutic trends are going to impact contract manufacturing. The first thing that I wanted to touch on was advanced modalities. So think, cell and gene production, things like that. And what we've seen, not only in the research, but also from customers, is that biotech companies are really turning to contract manufacturing partners to help produce and also develop a lot of advanced therapies. To put it kind of as simply as possible, biotech companies, we are finding, because we have these clients who are smaller biotech companies, that they really want to focus on what they know. They want to focus on the science and leave the complexities and the associated costs of manufacturing up to trusted contract manufacturing partners. And what we've seen over the past several years is that it is resulted in a real explosion of specialized CDMOs that are highly focused on, this type of manufacturing, like cell and gene therapies, for example, and has led more established contract manufacturers to carve out space to support this area of the market. I think, to put it bluntly, this isn't going anywhere. The world is going to continue to become more personalized. And I think that, manufacturers have to keep pace. Or I guess maybe not the world, but the requirements from patients is going to continue to stay on this personalized path. So the manufacturing standards and technologies that you are using really need to evolve to meet the demand for new innovations. So we anticipate that kind of this continuation of more individualized therapies will require manufacturers to kind of start to consider platforms or tools that include kind of basic building blocks so that they can be rearranged to fit different advanced modalities. And I think we're going to just see an outsized emphasis on digitization and collaboration so that as we continue to see these advanced modalities kind of gain steam. The next area that I wanted to touch on is wearables. So you'll hear these talked about in a couple different ways, but we're going to talk about them as drug device combination products. And this is really speaking to the convergence of drug products and medical devices to form a really distinct hybrid category. And these solutions are integrating large or small molecule medicines with medical devices and really starting to narrow or frankly erase the line between drugs and how they are delivered. These drug device combination products are really leading to safer and more effective treatments. And they honestly carry the potential for improved therapeutic outcomes because you are no longer relying on a human being to administer a drug, but you are rather relying on a device to do so. Similar to advanced therapies, most companies who are looking at these drug device combination products are not able to afford standing up the complexity of a manufacturing facility that can really satisfy both the device and the drug side of these products, and are looking to partner with contract manufacturers who either have a track record of success in these types of things or are really pivoting their business model or parts of their business model to satisfy. DDCPs really rely on the collaboration of a very multidisciplinary team. CDMOs who are used to bringing these teams together for design, packaging, drug development, everything are really going to be the ones who come out on top. But at the end of the day, kind of scalable manufacturing processes will play a really pivotal role in whether as a contract manufacturer you're able to meet these requirements, or frankly, if you want to meet these requirements. But this is a place that we see a lot of momentum from a therapeutic standpoint and a place where contract manufacturers could absolutely make their mark. The final area in the therapeutic theme that I want to talk about is additive manufacturing. So we know that we are seeing a lot of pricing pressure from consumers, and it is really forcing and requiring manufacturers to explore new avenues for particularly component production. Additive manufacturing has for a long time been used for prototypes and R&D. However, it is increasingly being used for end-use parts, which is enabling manufacturers to produce more configurable and more on-demand production of devices and implants. So what we're seeing is that for contract manufacturers, especially those who are in orthopedic or dental design and production, for example, can really start to explore how additive manufacturing can help set you apart from the competition, can help speed production, can really lower your hard costs, and really improve overall product quality. So extending the applications of additive manufacturing will absolutely necessitate a transformation or a rethinking of manufacturing operations. However, for contract manufacturers who today are really focused on the medical device side of the business, we do see that it's time to strike. So if it's something that you've been thinking about, it really feels like the right time to consider this and think about how you can start embedding this additive manufacturing or 3D printing, as it's more colloquially known, into your business. The final theme that we are going to be talking about is regulatory and kind of legislative. And we really can't talk about any themes or trends in life sciences without touching on regulation and legislation. Again, this is a topic that's always on the radar, but there are a couple trends here that we think are really interesting and that we foresee having an outsized impact on contract manufacturing. The first one that we are going to talk about is the potential economic complications or implications of legislation like the Biosecure Act. The Biosecure Act, in its form that we saw at the end of 2024, did not get passed, and it likely won't get passed in that form. However, the proposal and I think the spin that this created definitely is leading to some uncertainty for particularly multinational contract manufacturers. And especially contract manufacturers likely need to continue to be aware that this is an area that will continue to have movement. A real world kind of implication of this, I think, is what we saw in the sale of WuXi Advanced Therapies, which is a US-based company, but owned by WuXi in China. And the reason I wanted to point this out is because it was kind of predicated by the Biosecure hoopla. What we are kind of keeping an eye on is how manufacturers are going to make decisions or how they might make decisions to preempt legislative barriers in the future, and kind of what this uncertainty looks like and how that could have long-reaching ramifications or implications on the market. I think at the end of the day, whatever happens with these kinds of legislative movements, contract manufacturers really should be thinking about how they can improve their adaptability so that they are able to pivot quickly when and if it's necessary. The second area that I wanted to talk about in the regulatory theme is AI. So we talked a lot about AI earlier and kind of how it's transforming production and what some of the opportunities are for AI within manufacturing and contract manufacturing more specifically. And I wanted to touch on a couple of these to just highlight them for this specific group. So the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act aims to ensure the safety and ethical use of AI systems across various sectors, including pharmaceuticals and medical devices. And it's really based on risk-based regulations based on how you intend to use your AI applications. We see this from the FDA as well, that they have issued draft guidance that has a very long title, Considerations for the Use of Artificial Intelligence to Support Regulatory Decision-Making for Drug and Biological Products. I mean, they put like every word under the sun in there, but really at the end of the day, it's intended to provide recommendations on the use, again, of AI to produce information or regulatory documents, or how you're really using AI in the context of your business. When it comes to artificial intelligence, again, I think that AI is the future. I don't think that there's a world where we don't use AI within the context of manufacturing or production. And so my statement out to you all is really just awareness, is to make sure that as you think about how you are going to embed AI in your organization, that you ensure that it's compliant, that you're going out and you just have a heightened awareness of that, but also knowing that regulatory bodies, they are responding. So it's not going to remain a black box. They will respond. Which brings me into kind of the global harmonization for regulatory bodies, which is great, especially again for those multinational companies. Regulatory agencies, they move slow. However, they do respond to changes in the market and changes in terms of how we're manufacturing, how we're developing, things like that. So pharma and medical device markets are very globalized, and regulatory bodies have countered by bringing their standards more and more into alignment to ensure that there is consistency and that kind of regulations are streamlined globally to allow organizations to facilitate more innovation, to allow the market to more rapidly get high quality therapies, but they're really aligned in terms of making sure that globally there's a single lens that folks can look through. There are a couple here listed on the slide. I'm going to touch on the first one, and this is really a great example that we've been seeing where regulations like MDR from the EU and the FDA's 21 CFR Part 820 are coming closer and coming together to be aligned into a globally recognized standard of ISO 13483. This has been in the works for a long time, but I do think that it's a really good example of how regulatory agencies globally are recognizing that the market is very global and that the misalignment actually does the industry a disservice. So obviously regulatory changes and documentation and guidelines, they are updated frequently, and inevitably as technology kind of innovates and global demands change, regulators around the world will continue to adjust and harmonize their efforts. For contract manufacturers, when we think about the evolution of regulatory bodies or compliance, we really see that those manufacturers who have, as I said before, kind of adaptable modern tools that enable them to shift pretty rapidly, will be the ones who maintain success as they encounter new regulatory realities. The final area that I wanted to touch on in terms of regulatory is sustainability and environmental responsibility. And this is something that I think we are just seeing a lot of pressure from the market, from pharmaceutical companies, just from a lot of different areas to be more thoughtful about environmental responsibility. And we're seeing that both from a regulatory side as well as just kind of the cost of doing business side as well. And as regulations and guidelines develop, what we're seeing is that CDMOs really need to do what they can to stay ahead of the curve and differentiate themselves, to be completely honest. So investing in environmental, social governance, or ESG, is really a necessity that is front and center for CDMOs right now, and is really in response to the pharmaceutical industry's focus on environmental sustainability and commitments to green practices as part of social responsibility. So there's a million ways that as a manufacturer you can use renewable energy, and I am not going to pretend that these are super simple necessarily to implement, but there are a lot of ways out there, whether it's using renewable energy like solar or wind, or focusing on green chemistry. I think the statement here is really to make a plan and think about what this investment looks like moving forward. Not only does it help to lessen your environmental impact, but it can also actually enhance your brand value and really give you a leg up with sponsors who are highly focused on environmental sustainability. With that, I wanted to shift tack just a little bit into how we see kind of the trends. As I mentioned before, MasterControl is a software company. So how do we see the trends kind of playing out in terms of software? And we're really seeing this happen in 3 areas: innovation, simplicity, and value. So we've talked a lot about digital tools, but kind of how do these digital tools and how do those parallel what the market is demanding or what the market is doing? So when we think about innovation, what we're seeing is that there's an expectation from buyers to really see the latest advancements in technology that will further improve efficiency and effectiveness and increase, again, that word, adaptability, in a market that is not slowing down. So we're really seeing a desire, when we think about software tools in support of what we're seeing in the market, is the idea that they want to support their production, they want to support their operations, and they're trying to really support some pretty crazy novel things that are going on in the environment. And they're looking to software partners who can really help them to keep pace with what's happening. The next area that we really are seeing an appetite from a software development standpoint that aligns with the market is that we're seeing an appetite for being streamlined and simplified. So what we hear a lot from the market is that in an effort, to keep pace with a lot of the trends or a lot of the expectations, that they want systems that are easy to implement, they want systems that are easy to use, and they want systems that are flexible. While the overarching themes of trends kind of continue to be very similar, those little moments in the trends, I think, within those broader themes are the things that change year over year or accelerate or slow down. And the ability to have a flexible system that's highly configurable really helps to meet the changing needs, not only of the market, but as a contract manufacturing organization, kind of the needs of your sponsors, scale up, down, et cetera. The final area that we're really seeing a lot of kind of movement or heavy emphasis from a software standpoint is in value. And we talked a little bit about this when we started talking about like data. So this is the kind of organizational brother to thinking about how digitization can really improve your the visibility of data and how you use that data to make decisions. So when we think about value, it's really the ability to see kind of where you are seeing impacts, whether that's in time savings, in that reduction of errors, in improvements in compliance, in kind of a connected system. Like there's a million ways, right, that you can see value, but it's really about being data-centric and connected. That at the end of the day is where we see a real hunger in the market, which aligns very, very closely with, a lot of the digital transformation or digital technologies that manufacturers and contract manufacturers are looking at. So all of this to say that kind of these three areas, innovation, simplicity, and value, is really core to what MasterControl does. And is one of those reasons, like I said, we feel like we can have a perspective on what is happening not only in the market, but also the best way to serve contract manufacturers for our clients now and into the future to really help them take advantage and to really help them to stay abreast of what's happening and stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, thank you so much for that great presentation. Such a lot of valuable information. We appreciate that. And now is the time we're going to transition to our Q&A portion of the webinar. I would like to remind everyone, if you haven't submitted a question, you can do so now. We're going to get to a few of our audience questions. And if we do not get to yours, no worries. We will forward those on to our presenter, who will go ahead and share the answers with those later. Okay, let's see. We're going to go to our first audience question. And that question is asking, you talked a lot about AI. What are some of the ways MasterControl is using AI?
That's a good question. I'm not going to pretend to be the foremost authority on everything AI inside of MasterControl. But I think where we're really focused on AI within, our software just as an organization is we like to call it assistive AI. So it's not necessarily that we are going to be kicking somebody out of what they do or their space of expertise, but we really want to help them to be more efficient and more effective with what they're doing. And so I think an area of this that's a really good example is like in training. When you have somebody going into a batch record, especially I think as a contract manufacturer where you may have a lot of turnover, is you want to make sure that people are trained on what they're doing in that batch record. And so one of the ways that we are using AI right now is what we call exam generator. And that really enables, your quality teams potentially as they are developing internal training resources to use, a large language model to go in and develop exams that I guess it makes it a lot easier to develop those exams. So rather than writing out every question, you can kind of give the system prompts or you can upload, a paper copy. But when it comes to kind of that assistive part is really, we're not just going to go out and publish that. We're not going to go out and be like, here it is, world. It really requires someone to look at that and validate it. And the reason that we have kind of developed our AI tools in this way is because we understand that in highly regulated industries, that there are checks and balances. And right now, even with the power of AI and the power of machine learning and LLMs, we continue to want to make sure that our clients kind of have the power in their hands. So we're helping them work more effectively, but we're also enabling them to be kind of that last line of defense or enabling them to say, yes, this is good, or no, it's not. I'm really excited to see how it evolves within MasterControl. I will say there are some crazy ideas out there, and the teams are working on so much cool stuff, but that's one way that we're using it now. And like I said, really in an assistive manner.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. Now, our next question is asking, what are you seeing regarding changes to legislation and the impact on manufacturing in the U.S.?
That's a loaded question. It's a good question. I think it's there's definitely something, that a lot of people are thinking of. I would say from our perspective, it really comes back to that adaptability, that agility. So there's a lot of uncertainty around supply chains or production processes or shipping requirements. There's a lot of unknown. And so what we always think about, or what I think about, is really the ability to move fast and respond is kind of the critical component there. And that's what we mean when we talk about adaptability, is being able to move fast and respond to changing market conditions or changing requirements or demands from the market on your business. To me, again, from a software perspective, when we think about moving fast, it's really about kind of what are the technologies that you have adopted. Because if you are really entrenched in old modalities and processes, it is going to be hard to pivot quickly if necessary. Again, I think that there are just so many things that are unknown, and there are definitely far-reaching implications. However, I think preparing your businesses now to be as adaptable and as fluid and as flexible as possible can only help you as we kind of embark over the next couple of years and see how things shake out.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And our next audience question is asking, in terms of technology, how do you suggest starting to adopt technology into our operations?
Good question. I think it comes down to partnership, and I feel like as contract manufacturers, you probably really understand partnership, that partnering with a sponsor and really having a shared kind of vision of outcomes is really important, and can lead to better relationship or a longer term relationship, more collaborative relationship. And so I would say when you think about technology, just across the spectrum, is really finding a partner who understands your business. So they understand what you're trying to accomplish. They understand your goals, things like that. So for us, again, from the perspective of a software provider, we are focused on highly regulated companies. If you are building buses, we are probably not going to be the best option for you. But if you are trying to manufacture an autologous cell therapy, we are probably going to be a better fit than another company who maybe is more focused on industrial manufacturing. So I just think that finding partnerships that align really with your goals and your resources and where your company is going and can move and grow with you depending on where your organization is at is kind of the biggest thing when you start to think about technology. And where possible, I'm a big believer in, technology that's tooled specifically for certain areas, rather than trying to take something, that's tooled for school buses and apply it to heart monitors. It's probably just not going to go as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That is our webinar for today. I want to thank our presenter so much for her time and her knowledge. And I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Pharmaceutical Online. Have a great day.